Okay. So good to go now. So yesterday we talked about list, and I said in Python when you are creating a sequence of datasets, when you are creating a sequence of datasets, and all these data points, no, not datasets, a sequence of data points which you're creating, and basically all these data points can take different forms. When you say a data point can either be a string, it can be a numeric, and the same we say an integer or a float, and we can say it can be a complex, and so forth. So the key thing about a list, we said, even though a list contains a sequence of data points, the beauty of a list is you have the chance of making adjustment to the list. Okay? And we said if you create a list, okay, if you create a list, for instance, today I want to create a list called participants. Okay. So if you create a list, and I'm saying I'm creating a list called participants, and if now I want to basically participant, just say a participant of maybe this class, and to create a list, we say you would use a bracket and not parentheses. Okay. Say to create a list, you would use a bracket, and then the elements of my list, I want to have just name of people. I say I have John. I separate with a comma. I can say the next person is George, because I separate again with a comma. Maybe I have Emily. Apologies for that. I hope. Apologies. So I was talking about creating participants, and I said I have John, George, and Emily. And if I want to see the elements, I have to call the name. And if I execute that, you realize I can see the name. And then if I want to locate, I'm sure that is easy. If you want to index a participant, we just say print uh, print whatever now index that you want to associate with. So you can say, what do you want us to print? You want the software to print for you participant number. I think it's in caps. And then how do you index? So index is more or less the same as when you are creating a list. So you use a bracket, and then you know how to count. So if you want Emily, we say -1 will do. Okay. Let's see what will happen with that. It's done for me Emily because it counts from here. I can still get Emily by writing I think 0, 1, 2. So if I write here 2, I think I should be getting the same result. It is still Emily, as you can see. So I'm sure by now we know how to do the counting. Let's go to replacing elements. So assuming I want to replace participant, okay? I want to replace participant, and the participant that I want to replace John. So if I want to replace an element of an object without necessarily deleting it, I'll just call the name. I'm calling the name of my object, and then I'll say what? I will index the person that I want to replace. So in this case, John is indexed as 0, and I want that index number or that person to be replaced by who? By now a name called Edwin. Okay. If I execute that, I should be. Let me just copy this. It's much easier for me to operate. So as you can see, I have Edwin instead of John, and I'm sure now for someone who was asking yesterday about how to maybe add, delete, or you can be able to. Now again, I don't want you to confuse how to add someone, and I think we talked about append, which is more or less the same. So if you want to use append, but now you want to arrive to the same conclusion. So maybe I want to add Edwin, sorry, to add who's the guy, to add John back to this list called participants. Okay, so maybe you can say dot append. Okay, so that you know what's the difference between replacing and adding somebody new. So let's see how to add, and now that is when we use the dot append. So I would say I call my object, and then I'll say what? Participant dot append What are we appending? So the new name or the guy that we're introducing, and that guy is John. So remember, John was the guy that was deleted. So I want John to be back. So I'll just write there John. And if I call my variable again, sorry, my object, you can see that now my list of items contain both Edwin and John as part of the participant. So I'm sure by now you're good to go in as far as replacing and also appending is concerned. Let's talk about extending. And you said with extending, basically is just like you're combining two lists together. So there's already this list called participant, and you have a new list that you want to add on top of it. Okay, so you say extend, so by extension. So one, you just call the object that you're dealing with, and then you do what? You introduce the dot operator, and the method will be you're extending. So I'll just write here extend. And then what are we extending? So you're extending. So remember, at the end of every method, you must enclose in a parenthesis. And then now that is when now you introduce whatever you're dealing with. So if you're saying extend, what are you extending? You're extending a list. How do you create a list? You create a list using a bracket, but not a parenthesis. So the fact that you're using that parenthesis there is for the dot method. And then now you have to introduce the brackets now to create a list. And in this list, I can say maybe I have new guys who are coming in. I just say I have another guy called Job, comma, and then I say Lucy. All of them have to be enclosed. If there's any question, just of course you know what to do. Go to the comment section and right from it there. So you can see participant is now having the entire list of names because now we have extended it with Job and Lucy. I think that is straightforward. If you want to delete or removing an element from a list, just use the function delete. So if you want to delete, let's say you want to delete who? Let's do away with Edwin. So I'll just say delete and then I call the object. So we're deleting who? Edwin. Edwin is where in a list called participant. And then how do we index Edwin in that list? I'll introduce brackets. That's how we index. And then I'll say Edwin is index 0 in the list. So if I execute that, and then let me call the object. As you can see now, I have my variable and sorry, I have my object, and my object now doesn't have AB. Over there we're okay. Let's talk about slicing, and I think this is where we left yesterday. And I said, in terms of slicing, just playing around with your object, and there's a lot of functions that I want you again to embrace at this level. So somewhere there's if you go to your notes, that introduction to Python notes that you have, there's a list of some notable functions like delete. We have like length. So there's some functions that you need to at least try and see if you can use them anywhere. As you can see now, we have used delete, and maybe you can always be curious and see how do you use certain functions. So in terms of slicing, okay, let's see how this will work. So you want to slice so that let's just see, because it's much easier when I just demonstrate. So slicing basically is just to identify boundaries, or where do you want to cut across in as far as your data is concerned. And for instance, if you want to set boundaries, basically you're just talking about indexing. So you're saying what? In this thing called participant, I need to identify some few things. And maybe you say, I'll start with index number 1. So I want to index the first person. And then you can use a colon and you say, I want to index, so the first person is who? Is Emily. And then you say, I want to go all the way to, let's say 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's see how this will work. And then if I execute that, you have the software return for me Emily and John. So it truncates from, so if you say 3, you realize 3 is who? 0, 1, 2, 3. But now Job is not part of the, so Job is the boundary. So I don't know if I'm communicating, but you can tell now that it sets the immediate former observation that now will be there. Let's see maybe how this will work. It will make more sense. I use a colon, and then I say what? I say 2. But you can tell where the boundary is. So if I don't put a value to where my boundary should start, then it means the software automatically will start from 0. So in this case, it will be from index number 0 among the participants all the way to now the first person, because now if you write there 2, that means it will provide for you the immediate format. So let's execute this and then you see if that is what you're going to get. There you go. So I'm getting George and Emily. So George and Emily, and see George is now, of course, the 0 we didn't specify, so it starts from George, and then Emily is now 1. And because we said here 2, so it gives me the immediate format. Let's see the last one. Let's see how this will work. So if I control V and then I index maybe 3, I specify the beginning, but I don't specify the end. Okay, let's see what will happen. If I do that and then I execute, you can see it takes job all the way to the end. So it means I'm taking from here all the way from number 3 going all the way. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it picks from job the number 3 going that side. Okay. I hope now you can get the difference between this one and the first one. Because the first one it takes the immediate former. This one it takes from the exact index all the way to the rest. Maybe the bonus, let's see how what this will display. So maybe say participant and then I index negative, let's see 2. And then a colon. So execute that command. You can see that it's giving me job and Lucy. So this is the part where you have fun, guys. There's no any other place that you can develop your mind by playing around with new stuff. This is the place. So as much as yesterday I was teaching you about list, you can see that there's a lot to cover under list. I've already talked to you about the if statement, the wage. Do you know how to calculate wage using the if statement? Okay. Now I don't want to add anything in today's class, but again, like that assignment of if statement, elif, and so forth, kindly go through them. Again, I ask you, I don't want to police you, but make sure I'm giving you actually another time right now. All of you have that link. I have the notes there. You have the exercises, you have the assignment, and you have the solution. Don't look at the solution, do the exercises first. And then at some point, we will go through all of them if we find time. On Monday, you guys will be starting the database language, that is the SQL. So it means all of us will be joining cohort 3 from Monday. I repeat, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all of us are going to start SQL, which is the database language, and we will be joining the class under the cohort 3. On Thursdays and Fridays, we will continue with Python under cohort 4. Is there anyone who has a question or someone who needs some clarification about this arrangement? Good. So if there's no question, then go to your link, be busy for now until 9 p.m. and then let's meet on Monday as we do SQL. If you have not been installed the SQL or if your softwares are not sorted, then you know what to do. Enjoy your weekend.